Let me first weigh into this debate about continuity versus change. Mike, I think that government reports are a bit like T-shirts. In the real world, there's only so many changes you can make, right? Any T-shirt has to have 2 holes for your arms to come out and 1 hole to put over your head. And in the same way, there are limits to how much you can change a government report. So obviously, there's elements of continuity with previous NPRs. But I think within the range of NPRs that one could imagine a government of the United States conceivably producing, this one is much more change than continuity. Let me identify 4 different areas. Firstly is the changes in declaratory policy that Bob, I think, has very ably outlined. And let me emphasize just one thing here. The United States is now threatening to use nuclear weapons in response to attacks that would almost certainly kill not a single human being. I'm referring here to attacks against space-based elements of the US nuclear command and control system. Those attacks could be extremely consequential. I'm not playing down their significance. I think threatening to respond with nuclear weapons to those is dangerous and incredible. Secondly, this document does not make any attempt to reassure Russia about the survivability of its nuclear forces. For decades, the United States has been willing to say, whatever incredibly serious political disagreements we have with Russia, including at the moment its annexation of territory from 2 sovereign states, we accept that we are in a relationship of mutual deterrence with Russia, and we're not going to try to undermine Russia's nuclear arsenal. This document does not do that. Thirdly, for practical intents and purposes, this document takes arms control off the table. It pays lip service to arms control. It doesn't completely exclude the possibility of doing it, but it's lip service. There is no serious constructive arms control agenda laid out. And fourthly, there's this issue of new capabilities, which are quite rightly, the framers of this NPR, in my opinion, rightly have concerns about Russia and about Russian first use. The issue here, though, is I think our fundamental problem is not with Russia's willingness to use nuclear weapons first. We don't have a no first use declaratory policy. We reserve the right to use nuclear weapons first if we were losing a large-scale conventional war. The problem we have with Russia is its combination of conventional superiority around the Baltics coupled to threats of first use. It's those 2 things together. We're worried that Russia might overtake the Baltic states because NATO is conventionally weak there, and then use nuclear threats to try to deter NATO from taking back NATO's territory. I think we should worry about that. I think that's a real problem. But when you frame the problem in the way that I've just done, that the root cause of the problem is conventional weakness around the Baltics, for me, the best solution to that is let's become less conventionally weak around the Baltics. I don't mean we should put hundreds of thousands of troops into the Baltics and have a capability that could match Russia. But what the theory of conventional deterrence tells us is conventional deterrence fails when the other side believes it can execute a rapid and bloodless fait accompli. Right now, Russia is so conventionally superior around the Baltics, it could take those territory in a matter of just a few days with minimal number of casualties. That's a huge problem, in my opinion. Having enough conventional force around the Baltics that Russia would sustain a bloody nose if it tried to take over the Baltics, that it would take 2 weeks of effort and tens or hundreds of thousands of casualties rather than 2 days and hundreds of casualties, I think would enhance our deterrence posture around the Baltic much, much more than 2 different types of new nuclear warheads would. Now, I don't want to go on for too long. I think there are real additional dangers and costs associated with these new warheads. But the big idea I want to get across here is the problem with addressing these security problems in a nuclear posture review is you inevitably end up looking for nuclear solutions to that. To my mind, there is a real security threat from Russia out there, and I don't play that down in any way. But I do think that our fundamental response to that is much more effective in the non-nuclear domain than in the nuclear domain.